You got to do ooh, 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 ooh.
Here we go.
Hello, hello. Tina, I don't know why you're always at the very top of my screen. There's Tina Limpert.
Good to see you all.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice
Jamie
necklace.
Bowen's getting that shade created so there's not blinding light in her eyes.
Ta-da.
Hello, hello.
So many. Oh, Marian's here. Hi, Marian.
Reed, Carol, Michelle.
I'm
course,
about to cough.
Elaine.
Excuse me.
Oh, come on, Kathy. And I can see Carol and Deb and Eileen.
Oh, don't do
My
that.
magic mirror.
Don't do that. That was when I was a kid, that was
Yeah?
a total freak out, scary to me.
Terrifying for you?
Totally terrifying. How could she see me? You know?
Kathy. Oh, she could.
All right. I think, how are we doing, Amy?
Yeah. There are folks definitely coming in still. So let's just give it another minute.
Right.
Let's see if people can practice patience.
Breathe. Oh,
Yes,
you know
breathe.
what I need to practice is connecting the
Asthmatic.
electrical cord.
Oh, great. Not quite sure why you need an electrical cord. Charge the computer.
Charge the computer. Ugh. Okay.
I'm
I
so
might need
happy
to make
guys.
you host. Why don't I make you host? Just
Why? I don't want to be host. I don't
Well,
want
guess
this
what?
job.
I
I don't want this job.
I only have 1/3 of a battery left.
Oh no.
Okay, you're host now.
Oh no. For the love of
Just
God,
in
my
case.
internet better hold out. I don't want to have anybody. Where's the recording?
So dependent on.
How dare you?
All right, let's go.
All right, let's do it. Are you going to let
Hi,
people in?
everyone. Yep.
Okay. Is everybody muted except for us?
Kenya,
No.
you good? Hey.
Well, it's the end of the week. Now where you been? Well, now it's Feedback Friday, so come on in. Come sit down and stare at your screen. We got a presenter that you never seen. We're Feedback Friday, we're on the loose. We'll be the train, you be the caboose. It's Feedback Friday with Kathy and Amy. Mashed potatoes and the gravy. It's Feedback Friday all day long. Feedback, feedback, Feedback Friday.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. It's Feedback Friday on Thursday, Crime Stoppers edition. So as many of you know, Amy has been selected to be the grand arbiter on a grand jury. And so her Fridays are now when she is convening and weighing the evidence. She can't talk about it, so we can't talk about it either. But
I'll have to kill you all. Yes.
what an experience. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us on a Thursday. I'm Kathy Hattori, president of Botanical Colors. And of course, Amy is the blind scales of justice
Stop it.
and director of communications and social media. Feedback Friday, now on Thursday, is our weekly show where we welcome artists, growers, activists, scholars, writers, scientists, anybody who's interested in the world of natural color, something interesting in textiles. We're all happy to be able to meet with them. So this week we've got our friend of Feedback Friday, Kenya Miles. Kenya's joining us from Baltimore. And her organization is called Blue Light Junction, and they are bringing a natural dye economy to Baltimore. So it's really thrilling to hear about what she's working on, some of the projects she's got, the seeds she's offering, etc. So she'll be talking to us about that. And before we start, I just want to say thank you. I guess you guys like seeds. I guess so, because yesterday we got more orders than we have ever gotten ever. And so last night on my kitchen table, I was like pulling seed packets and trying to make sure that I was giving the right seeds to the right people. They're coming. The seeds are on their way. Thank you very much for that. We couldn't do this without you, of course. I mean, Feedback Friday is only a Feedback Friday because there's always about 100 of you ready, willing, and able to both sing, dance, and listen. Those are all really good life skills. Thank you. And Amy's going to be our moderator on the chat, which she'll open up after Kenya's presentation. And you'll be able to ask Kenya all sorts of questions. And I think that's it. So Kenya, I'm going to turn it over to you and let us know where you are and what's going to happen.
Hi, thanks, Kathy and Amy. Can you all hear me okay? I'm trying to switch to my, my hotspot won't work. All right, so I'm hoping my internet isn't gonna go in and out, but it probably will. I'm super excited to be here. I'm also like very self-conscious. Oh, haven't seen myself on Zoom in quite a while. So thanks everybody for coming. I'm at our studio, Blue Light Junction. We're in Baltimore City, Central Baltimore to be specific, Greenmount West. We are a natural dye processing facility. We also operate a small urban garden through our community garden at Hidden Harvest. We're working on a larger project. So there's a lot of things that we have going on. I'm gonna share a little bit about the work that we've been doing for the last nearly 4 years. And then we can kind of talk about plants. As you can see behind me, we have some plants that we're growing. I cut the grow lights off because it was a lot of white, but let me share my screen and take you through the presentation. Okay. Oh no, is this the timed one? I don't like this one. Okay, so let's see if this works. Oh, hold on, let me stop. It's been a while, y'all. It's been a while. Okay, let me stop my share. Let's try again. I don't know why I can't just do presenter view. Let's see. All right, we all good? All right, so this is kind of the story of our project that really initiated in late 2018, began in 2019 through the Baltimore Natural Dye Initiative. So some of the work, some of the work that we've been doing in community for the last 4 years, this will be our 4th growing season, have been to grow natural dyes in Baltimore City, and also looking at sort of the agricultural aspect through urban farming, but also thinking about in this upcoming last 2 seasons, really just like being a part of an ongoing conversation with makers and producers to be able to have and establish a really strong grounding in the artisanal work of natural dyes. Let me see if I skip something. Okay. So again, the Baltimore Natural Dye Initiative started in 2019. This is myself, Rosa Chang, and Sun English. We were all farmers and supervisors on the project from 2019 to 2020. This is Parks and People Foundation, where we grew on about 3,200 square feet of land. We grew marigolds. We attempted to grow safflower. It took us 3 years to figure out how to grow it properly here. We also grew black-eyed Susans, which are the state flower, and a number of other indigos that were successful, some weren't. And this is essentially us in our final growing season in 2020. In 2021, we worked with Innovation Works to partner to create a larger project that essentially supported additional farms throughout the city. So some of the farms that we worked with last year are Backyard Base Camp, Bliss Meadows, Plantation Park Heights, Parks and People Foundation again, and Cherry Hill Urban Farm. It was really exciting to be able to establish greater roots in the context of other urban farms practices, as well as to start to co-create a natural dye cooperative of farmers who are continuing to grow. And this year, our expectation is to increase scale so that we can grow and produce and provide more natural dyes for Baltimore City, as well as thinking about national access. So these are some of our farmers during our harvest. On the left is Jordan Bethia at Bliss Meadows. In the middle is Rodette Jones, who was working through Filbert Street and then went over to Cherry Hill Urban Farm. And on the right is Tiara, who is a farmer at Plantation Park Heights. And so because indigo has such a large draw for different communities of African-American history, but also thinking about new and present ways that we're using the dye and thinking about cultural practices, this was sort of our main crop this season. We also grow as Blue Light Junction at Hidden Harvest Annex. As I said before, it's adjacent to our studio space. And so that's where Rosa Chang and myself initiated essentially a demonstration garden during our residency at the Baltimore Natural Dye Initiative. So we grow a variety of native plants. We also grow plants that are essentially known as industrial dyes, historical natural dyes. So we have madder root on the far right, coreopsis, safflower, and we also grow Hopi blue corn, which we continue to collect our own seeds. And our garden really is like a testament to sort of wild, untilled land. So things continue to grow and propagate consistently on their own. So at Blue Light Junction, we're also thinking a lot about processing in capacity as we increase our relationships with farms. How do we then manage and handle the additional processing needs? So Rosa Chang, for the last several years, has led a group of volunteers and community members to learn how to process indigo through water extraction. We're also attempting to do a sukumo this season as well. Kathy will have some of our dried leaves from the farms that you saw prior to this. So this is Rosa and some volunteers in the upper left and an intern on the far right, working with, I think it's a 100-gallon barrel and using John Marshall's technique of using a sump pump for in light of hand raking, which is not my thing. So this is more of us working with the pigment. Rosa and I have also worked to process it. Last season, our processors were Rachel Rusk and Rosa Chang. And so they really worked to create our paste from our indigo, as well as some of the dried indigo that we produced this season. We also grew in quantity these really beautiful big bobtail marigolds at Bliss. So that's me on the upper left, harvesting at Bliss Meadows. And then we bring them into Blue Light Junction, kind of lay them out. They're really bulbous and water dense. So we tend to string them up and hang them, which it ends up being a really beautiful part of the studio, as well as we get to hang a lot of the indigo for our drying as well throughout the season. So I think, is that it? Let's see. Go back. Okay. Oh, all right. So I just wanted to call attention to the names of the farmers who worked with us in 2021, Maisha Taylor, Rodette Jones, Sun English, myself, Tiara, Chippy, Io Deli, and Jordan. We're all farmers on the project this season. We're really, as a Black-led city, we're working heavily with Black-led farmers. We're also thinking about land compensation and farmer pay that's equitable within the city, creating kind of a new model through the support of innovation work. So I've been able to have calls with a lot of the farmers. There's also issues with land. So one of the farms that we were working with, Cherry Hill Urban Farm, which is under Black Yield Institute, stewarded by Eric Jackson, has been removed from their land. So they no longer have their farmland. And so some of the things that we're thinking about with Innovation Works, creating larger committees around this project, is really how can we secure land for farmers in the city. Development is an ever persistent thing, and we're in one of those cities where land is quick and cheap for developers to snatch up. And the city is very happy to offer you an adopt a lot for beautification, but then to, once you've done the work, as is historically happens, they're happy to take the land from you and give it over at no cost. So yeah, these are some of the issues that the city is facing in general, as well as farmers of color. And again, our processors were Rachel Rusk and Rosa Chang this season. So I was just going to go into how I plant our indigo, and we're also selling through Botanical Colors Waikate, which we will be shipping out this week. We're really excited. So should I just go into it, Kathy, or do you want me to take any questions, or just go ahead? Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So because we are a processing place or facility, we kind of, we have items, right? It's not like you might not have grow lights at your house. You may. You can also create it through fluorescence. So I just wanted to share some of the things that I use. I'm really big into having like 72 cell seed trays is like the thing that I love, but also I don't like little holes. A lot of what happens is that indigo grows in community. And so it needs like between 4 and 6 seeds to be in one cell. And so if you have a really small opening at the bottom of your cell tray, it tends to limit the roots and also to become really hard to transfer if you need to up pot if you're not ready to take them out for the season. So I do use an organic seed mix, seedling starter. This is the kind I've used for the last like 4 years. I get it at my ACE. It's great. I also, in the upper left, you see like a top. It has vents on it. I'm a big proponent of this top. It creates kind of a dome. So you have your two halves of your 72 seed trays. The one on the bottom is just one of 72, or one of 2 for the 72. And this dome really creates, and I'll show you in the back, but it really creates like a greenhouse effect. So even if you do have things that are interior and you don't have grow lights, but you do have like a really beautiful windowsill, this helps to maintain temperature. Another thing that I use are heat mats. So we have heat mats, and hopefully if you're really, interested in having like a setup, I would recommend a heat mat unless you have really stable conditions, like you're on the West Coast or, maybe a drier climate that doesn't get as cold. But here on the East Coast definitely gets cold here. And I do not run my heat all day. So like, I need to do whatever I can to protect those seedlings. So this is really good in the early germination phase. And it creates like a 10 to 20 degree difference in temperature. So the other on the left, the Agro Bright, those are the fluorescent lights that I use. And I use like those Home Depot silver shelves and hang those, as well as use them as trays. So two 72 cell trays fit side by side on one, I think it's 100 feet length. And then the bottom right is just where the seed trays go on top. So that's what the green thing is. We ran our germination test on the seeds that we sent to Botanical Colors. And one of the things that for me has been a consistent way to get quick germination, but also to get consistent growth is to soak my indigo seeds overnight. So I take my seeds and I soak them. The next day, I will already have prepared my tray with the seed material for my soil, and I'm ready to go. The only thing about doing it this way is that the seeds are obviously wet. So you can do a number of things. You can take the seeds out and dry them on like a paper towel or fabric and leave them overnight. Or you can do what I do, which is just take the clumps and stick them in, and it is what it is. They need to be in collective. I'm not going to count every single seed. It's not that delicate. Indigo is much less delicate than people can sometimes believe. A lot of what I do is think about like, what would people be doing in a village? And because I've had the opportunity to work with artisans in communities, like I try to be as minimally delicate as I can, and just think about like the plant's mission is to grow, and it will. And if given the right support, like that's my job, is to support its growth, not to hinder it or impede it by my like overthinking. The other thing that's a trick for me is that I do what's called bottom feeding. I don't water my plants on top. So the night before, I would get my cell tray ready, and I would basically take in that green tray, I would take that and put water in it so that the soil is moist, so that the soil is already prepared to receive the seeds. I then go back in once I've planted the seeds, and I put a light, I'd say you go in about, I go in like a thumb, like a fingerprint, not deep, but something that's just like patted on top, and then cover it with soil. That way the light, the seed is able to get light, but also able to get water. I'll water the base in the green tray. And then that's what I continue to do. I water from the bottom of the tray. I never water on top, and I never water the soil. I do that consistently in all of my my seed growing. And then this is the waikate that we are growing. So waikate is this really beautiful plant that, as Kathy sort of reminded me, is like very similar to pericon. It's a Peruvian marigold, has very small white plants or white blooms, but it gets really tall, like 8 feet in height is sort of standard. And so it produces massive amounts of seeds. And so while again, I am a seed purveyor, I also want people to be harvesting and collecting their own seeds because they're naturalizing to your climate and to your region. So a lot of what's good is like buy seeds and then work to sort of save your seeds. We were talking yesterday about, again, indigo. For our climate, we're zone 7, again, Baltimore, Maryland. So we will collect our seeds. Normally they go into the ground after frost. So mid-April. Last year it was May because we had a late frost and a lot of people lost things that they put in early. We have the same with our indigo. We put it out and then it was like done. So mid-April to May is safe. And then when you harvest the seeds essentially need to mature. So you're doing your traditional harvesting. You get two harvests ideally out of your indigo. So harvesting around July for your first harvest, allowing another 4 to 6 weeks. So you'd go in August, late August for your next one. And then the seeds need time to go into proper maturation. So you don't want to cut again really late, because what that does is it eliminates the idea, the movement of the seeds to mature. So once you go into, you get into late October, November, for us, that's when we will collect our seeds. And again, the seeds will go from like a light pink to a really deep dark. They almost dry out on their own. So if you feel like you're going to get a rain or something's going to, it's going to get colder, just cover your plants. That will definitely help preserve your seeds so that they can continue to mature. And yeah, we had some false starts with planting late this season, and then we weren't able to collect as many seeds because we went really long into the season. I was collecting just before Christmas for some other seeds. We had a first round, and then I was trying to collect more from the second round, meaning there were just a ton in various farms that weren't mature enough. So the ones that we were able to collect in the second round were the ones from Bliss Meadows. And again, they had been covered through the frost and through the rain. So those ended up being viable. We have 3 seed groups, or 3 seeds from 3 different farms that were from our first harvest. What you all get at Botanical Colors is all we got from them, which is amazing. But yeah, it just goes to show you that like getting into the ground, planting season, it affects the whole, it can affect the whole line of when things are growing. And so then this Waikate, I will say, I've not always had really great luck in having marigolds return. So marigolds that are robust are like the Spanish and the French marigolds. Those just, you don't ever have to, like these, and you'll have them in your garden. The African marigolds are those big bobtail ones that we buy from Thailand. They have not ever been able to collect seeds from them. So they'll go to seed, but they just don't do well. So I get them from the same purveyor every year. I'm not sure if, again, it has to do with like they need a longer season of summer to then go into seed. But all that to say, these Waikates are pretty simple. We will have already removed them for you, as you can see on the right. And then you essentially can throw them into either, seed trays if you want to, or they can go direct sow. For us, again, zone 7 is in May. And your marigolds, at least here for us, will run from May until around December once they're in the ground. So I think they're about a week to maturation. And then we have some that we've done for, I'll show you in the back, we've done for our germination tests for here as well. So that's it. That's it. There's nothing more. I'm gonna stop.
Wait.
That's my share.
You can't be done yet. I was
That's
like,
it.
yeah.
Nobody wants to hear me talk anymore.
That's great. Show us your grow setup here.
So I'm gonna lift this up and move you all around a little bit. Always funny to do things on a computer versus your phone. So here, let me turn on our lights here. So again, if you all can see, okay, so I'll go low. This is where the Waikate has been starting for us. And so this is basically what the seeds produced for us. We started these on the 13th of January, so they could use homes. They don't want to be in here anymore. They need to be up potted. And again, for our second germination test for the indigo, we have these seeds. Can you see that? Let's see. So these are all of our indigo from Bliss that we harvested in December 22, December 22nd, 21. So yeah, this is our setup. This is how it looks in here. Very mysterious when you pass by at night. People wonder what we're growing. And that's the studio.
Why are those lights on?
I know.
Oh, nice. Look at that. Lots
Look
of
at that.
room.
360. There it is.
Very
Well, I'm getting so
good.
dizzy.
Okay.
I gotta take
Tanya,
some
thank you
Dramamine.
so much. I'm going to turn this over to Amy to start fielding questions for you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna jump in. Thanks for that. I'm writing my own questions down too. Thanks for my own planting needs. So, okay, do you fertilize the seedlings or the plants when they are in the field? Do you fertilize the seedlings or the plants when they are in the field? Yep.
Yeah, so with indigo, one of the things that we have done is we'll compost directly at the root. So if we start to get kind of leaves that indicate that they're lacking nitrogen, which are generally like red, we'll add compost directly to the root, water it, and then observe, right? Because you don't want to keep adding compost to something. It's like anything, adding too much, it's like you don't take 100 vitamins, right? So you do what you can, and then you just continue to observe the plant. But with the Waikate, literally,
It'll
we
just
don't do
go.
anything. It just
Kenya,
like,
but you never fertilize anything that's in a seed tray. Is that correct?
no, we don't fertilize
have
anything.
to.
And you know what? I won't say never. When we up pot our indigo, like we have
Yeah.
some that we started too early here, but if I'm trying to like make my way through April, I'll put them in larger pots like this. And again, like
Yeah.
with the, can't really see the holes here, but
Yeah.
holes. So we'll put maybe like plants that are clustered,
Mhm.
maybe 6 to 10. And then if things, as they're growing, if they start to, again, look like they need some, we will use, looks pretty gross right now, but we use this fish fertilizer.
Mhm.
And so that has instructions for how to use it, again, because it's super potent. There's also mushroom compost is really amazing. So you can add a little bit of that. There's like tea composting, which means you're
Mhm.
basically creating a tea from your compost. And so I learned that process through Sun English. So there's a lot of different things that you can try, but again, I do things in really small, like if I'm fertilizing, dilute it and do it like a week later, check it. Like don't keep adding it every day. Do it once in a small quantity and then check it the next week. Because you can set your plants back in a really big way.
Yeah, you can stunt them actually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. When do you start your seeds? And I'm sure this is different, depending on what zone you're in. But when do you start your seeds?
Yeah, for us, we think about 6 weeks behind. So if we're gonna try to go in mid-April, we would start mid-February or March, or first of March, and then
That means now.
yes, that does me now. Yeah, which is, it's interesting because these things are, again, none of us are really like, time is this vapid thing. I don't even know what time it is. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to start seeds now, because I'm still trying to give away these seeds because some are too mature, but the ones that we've just germinated, I can probably hold on to those. But again, like last year I started, I think 40 cotton plants in like around Christmas. We had some volunteers, they wanted to see how they grow. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's start some. They put a bunch in and then they were doing great. And then when our frost lasted too long, we got white flies and they just were like done. So I lost 40, and it's very emotional for me. I really love my cotton. So it was very sad. I like took them out, I mean, it was, the pots are still out there. It's like a year. Let it go.
Little memorial.
They're not coming back. They're gone.
Oh.
Will huacate grow in area 9?
Yeah, I believe that it can. I think that you probably should think about like where it can get the most sun in your garden, but I think that I think 7 to 9 seems pretty manageable.
How about area 51?
I've never been there, so I can't really speak on that.
Everything grows in area.
Everything grows in area 51.
That's
That got creepy.
yeah.
How deep do you plant the indigo? And did you say 4 to 6 seeds per cell?
Yeah, so I try not to get really like again counting them. One, because they're really gonna be wet. But I'm trying to think if I can show you. It's gonna be kind of hard, but all right, let's see. This is my pour. So this is the top of the seed cell, right? So I probably planted this like, I wouldn't even say a 1/16 of an inch. Like I literally just pad my finger and we'll put something put the seed there and then cover it. Like I really don't go very deep. One reason is that the plant needs light more than it needs water sometimes, which is
Yep.
an interesting thing in the very beginning. So if you're like, I think we think because things do need water, but they can subsist with less water over time. But what they really need is, again, the soil is wet, but that light is imperative for them to grow. So you want it to be closer to the light than the bottom.
Okay, Joan's asking, what kind of color do you get from the huacate? And I just,
Yeah.
you know what? I just pulled up an image that you'd sent me. Do you want me to share what the picture is?
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's
sure.
see. Hold on. This is the picture I grabbed, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So
Yeah.
this
And that's
is
on cotton, right?
Yeah, so this is cotton. We have an elder, Louise Wheatley, who is an art restorer as well, and has taught me so many things, but we will swap. She's also helped provide our cotton seeds that we're gonna sell this year too. But so she, I gave her some of this. It grew amazingly, and she's, using it for her teas, dye, everything. Spins her own cotton that she grows. So that's the cotton that she dyed with, the waikate, which is pretty
Beautiful.
great. Yeah, and the smell is kind of like, even the seeds smell great. It's like,
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's a very, very luscious thing.
Very nice.
Okay, the name of your cell starter.
My cell starter, you mean the
Or the seed starter, is that maybe the
the
little
black gold, the black gold, this one?
I don't know, Donnie, who just asked this question, I don't know if it looks like
Not getting paid by these people, but
yeah, sun grow.
You guys-
Sungrow.
I want this starter kit. I've been using the Burpee kit, but what is your 72 unit kit called brand?
Yeah, those, so a couple of things. I try to buy them locally because I don't like to buy anyway. Big companies, that's great. But so I don't know where to get them outside of that, but I'll look it up and see if I can share some links with you all. Because for me, I get really attached. Like when I have to give a tray away, I get really upset because I'm not gonna get my tray back. I'm
I
like,
think you, and my problem with trays has been that the Burpee is really thin walled and it falls apart on me after a year, and I want to use it for a long time.
yeah.
Stingy
These have been very consistent for me. And I appreciate, they hold up really well. So I'll see what I can find and pass along to Kathy.
Oh, good. I think, okay, so Adrian's asking, what's the temperature there? Is it regulated? Is it constant? And then said, I mean the indoor temp.
Yeah.
So what's the indoor
The
temperature?
answer is no, because I pay the heating bill. So no, the heat is not on unless there's a body in here. And sometimes even then I'm like, you're okay, right? No, I don't do that. But I do generally, we've obviously had snow in the last month. So I have tried, as we've started to germinate, to keep some temperature regulated at least to 50 degrees. But it becomes really hard when it's like 12 degrees outside, so again, having that, and I'll show you the dome. Having the dome is helpful because, again, it has those two, this is the dome. Looks pretty gross, but this is sort of for airflow. And so it really does keep like a nice airtight heating system while you're working, or while things are growing. So I kind of rely on that and the mats to regulate. And then if I feel especially, like the plants really need some heat, I might cut it on all night, But yeah, between 50 and 60 degrees studio temperature.
Right. Now that you've finally figured out safflowers, somebody's at my safflower didn't come up last year. Do you have any advice? But you do.
I don't know. It's a prayer and a promise of, you know, I'll give you
They're
something
picky.
if you give me something. Yeah, we've had a lot of sad safflower moments. I don't know what happened this year. Maybe it was just like, you know what, you lost your cotton. We'll just grow for you. It's like, you're
Yeah.
sad.
The yin
I
and the
did.
yang.
Yeah, we actually had them next to our corn this year. And so I don't know if being in that sort of environment was helpful too, because we haven't ever had them near corn. And so we had some that were not near the corn that started to grow, and then they were like, no, not gonna
Yeah.
grow. So yeah, I don't know what the magic is, but
Yeah, nature, Mother Nature, doing
yeah,
her thing.
yeah.
Okay, once in beds, do you have problems with rodents and how to control that if you do?
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. So we, Baltimore City has a lot of, our central Baltimore is high in its number of friends. So we have, there's a garden, so we have the two gardens that are paired are across the alleyway from each other. So one garden is a vegetable garden, one is in fruit, chickens, and one is just, you know, we grow dye plants and textile fibers and things. So we don't really have, they don't want what we have. They've never eaten our corn. They've never, and these are not small things. They are the size of cats sometimes. They don't bother the plants. They're not really interested. You know, sometimes in the summer they're hanging out, getting a little shade from the indigo, but they don't. And we don't have rabbits in this part of the city. In other parts, like deer have been an issue, especially with like the super young indigo. So some of the things that we've done, like at Parks and People's property, which is near Druid Hill Park, which is a massive park in Baltimore. You know, we have foxes, we have gophers, we have a lot of things. So what I've found is that with the indigo, I let the indigo grow, like I keep the roots from the season before, and then I let the new indigo that's self-seeded be protected by those. And it feels like that's why the deer aren't able to get to it, because it's not easily accessible. Like when you have a really nice manicured, garden and everything, like they're like, thank you. And they enjoy very easily. But with the indigo, it seems like for the last 2 seasons that those were protecting them. We did have gophers. We were trying to grow comfrey and what was the other plant? Calendula, and they just ate all of that. So we haven't figured that out, but we don't have that issue at the annex, and the other gardens haven't had issues with any of the indigo that they've grown.
All right, this is an interesting question. So how did you start an urban farm? Inner city soil is not always the best for growing. So maybe can you talk about how you got the soil to be rich enough or good enough to be growing crops in?
Yeah, I think 2 things. Soil in the city gets a bad rap. People think that because it's in a city, it doesn't have, like, there could be no way that the soil could start out decent, right? A lot of it is that, especially in Baltimore City, there have been urban farms for decades now. One of the farmers that we're excited to grow with at the Greener Garden this year, they bought their land. 2 elders who are amazing, have been growing for like 36 years on their land in Baltimore City. So a lot of it is that these communities have taken the time to cultivate the land that has been decayed. Like, people have left it, it hasn't been useful, and they have propelled themselves to grow and support the needs of their communities day to day. So the land for us had already been long standing an urban garden in this community for upwards of like 10, 12, 15 years. So, and the other farm land that people have been growing on has needed some support, but not to the degree. And we all run soil tests through a group. We're all in partnership with Farm Alliance. We have soil tests run, and that includes lead and different heavy metals. There's a lot of again, misconception, and there's a lot of not great soil in places that we do get our food from. And so that is because it's been, pounded with pesticides for decades. So that versus what you need to abate or amend land here in the city actually is much easier in a way, I would say.
You and Kathy could probably answer this one, but Suzanne's asking, I have seeds from that she has seeds from us from last year, which are probably from you, Kenya. Are they good to plant this year? Maybe one of you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, you can, again, you can use seeds a year or two, but the viability of, again, how well they're going to grow decreases as those years go on. So like for cotton, 2 years is kind of standard. For indigo, having the newer season is preferable, but I'm always like, throw it out there. Who knows? Like give it a try.
Yeah, you lose a little bit of viability, but I think you just sow it more thickly. And then, with the right conditions, you'll still get growth. There shouldn't be a problem with it.
Yeah.
Do you know if indigo will grow in zone 3, which is Northwest BC, British Columbia? Yeah.
Oh.
I think I should put my glasses on.
Northwest BC. Should, I mean, they were able to grow it in Persicaria in Finland. So I don't know what that latitude is, but I bet it would. You just need to probably start it, definitely start it indoors and definitely keep it covered for a while. Like if you have a hoop or something that you could put over it with agricultural cloth, then that'll keep it pretty warm. And then once it really gets warm, then you can go ahead and take that all off and grow it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and so somebody's asking is the dye from huacate, is in the stems and leaves? Did you say?
It's in everything. It's in the
Oh.
stems, it's in the leaves, it's in the flowers. It's so all of it is potent. The leaves and the blossoms have a higher content, but you could just throw it all in, and it gets quite thick in so it kind of is easier to just trim back the leaves and the flowers, and then you're also gonna be able to harvest seeds, so I think some of it too is like when you're thinking about using things for dye plants or for like a final expression of the plant, really want to think about when or how am I going to collect my seeds, so don't just start chopping stuff because you're like, I'm just going to use it for dye. Like you want to regenerate your garden, so think about maybe having some plants that you would cut back and other plants that you let grow fully. It's just really about spending time getting your garden to naturalize and not just, that sort of old, get rid of everything, start fresh every year, right? Like we're not doing that anymore.
All right, so maybe this question comes in. So do you rotate the different plants every year in different parts? So if you're leaving things to go, like you're saying, would you plant something new in that place, even though you've sort of let it go?
Yeah, so this is interesting because now like the observation for being at Parks and People last year was the soil needs to be amended and that it is lacking certain nutrients. And so what I will try to do is move things as the seeds start to grow, kind of move them onto another part of the land to see what the viability will be once we like amend and then sort of rotate things. That's at the sort of like larger farming scale. At Hidden Harvest, we have this process where basically all of the plants come up, and like we don't call them weeds, we call them plants we're not cultivating once we sort of engage and see. Because the thing is that there are birds, there are animals, things are like seeding things for us, right? So we might end up with indigo somewhere else, and if it's growing there, then that's where it wants to be. We don't need it to be a row crop. I don't need it to be like in one area so that someone can say, oh, here's where the indigo is. It's like, get inside of there, just like a forest. And that's where the indigo started to grow healthy this year. So for us, that's actually a really good like marker. We grow, what do you call it? Amaranth every year. And it basically just took over, like our walkway. And I was like, well, that's where it wants to be. So we're just gonna leave it there. And we're kind of all like walking around it all the time in a funny way, but that's where it was growing. And so I think that for us is like a clear sign. But if we had pulled all those things and decided that this is the way that it needed to look, then we wouldn't have known where it wanted to be that year, right? So that's kind of our practice on the smaller demonstration garden, wild garden. But when we're looking at our crops in different larger farms, rotating has been important, but we also do like amend. We have a local place called Veterans Compost, and they will truck in like a lot of compost. So we're working on amending and assessing as we go.
Are you guys doing like a soil analysis too as you're going?
We started that in the beginning, and sometimes I can't keep up with the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I like your idea too of just seeing how things are where they pop up and let them go too.
It's not good for graphs. People don't like that. They're like, what? What? You don't know? And I'm like,
that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, where do you get cotton seeds?
You can get cotton seeds from us. We get our cotton seeds. We get our cotton seeds from a bunch of like growers in Maryland. There are a lot of people who are interested in the cultivation of cotton. And so we have a variety of Peruvian cotton. We also have Sea Island cotton. The green, our green went to white 2 years ago. So I don't know what happened. We sort of, again, I think it's a soil chemistry. So we're collecting the seeds from people who are harvesting and getting those green tones as well. And then we get the brown Sea Island as well. So those are three types of seeds that we'll have for sale. Again, cotton's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things to grow. Also like growing corn.
Oh, yeah. I feel like anytime I've ever tried to grow corn, it's just been the saddest experience ever. It's kind of your experience with the cotton dyeing. But so when you get those cotton seeds up, will you take pre-orders now? So when I put something about this, we can direct people.
Yeah, we could definitely work on pre-orders. Like they're all here. I mean, we just
getting them up on the site.
it's just it's like we have hands, but a lot of it is like just doing things.
Yeah.
But they're all here. We're really excited too.
I want to buy your cotton seeds.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you protect indigo from intense hot sun?
One of the ways that we have observed indigo does really like, it likes to be partially shaded. I think that there's sort of this myth that like it wants to be in full sun all the time. It does really like partial shade. And the indigo that I've seen that has thrived has had some partial shade. We will grow our Hopi sunflowers along the perimeter and in the middle of the indigo so that we can create some shade. We also try to do like terracing in the garden so that we have like, we're really trying to also have, like, I don't know, cut flowers. So we'll grow some cut flowers, some zinnias that are can get a little bit larger depending on your, your slope, your height. So we'll grow different things next to the indigo so that there's a lot of space for them to have some coverage, because it gets really hot here. So for me, like summers tend to just be miserable because I'm like so hot and everything needs to be watered, and it's helpful for them to have a little canopy, through the other plants.
Yep. Maybe Kathy, one more question and then we can wrap it up. Okay. So tips on growing cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Because now everybody's going to buy cotton seeds from you.
Yeah. So we will, what I want to do is basically create like a video for growing cotton, because the way that I grow cotton is in, I don't have any right here, but it's basically just in those to-go boxes, the black bottoms and the clear tops. So I will take, like a cloth. Sometimes I use silk because I have silk lying around, sometimes I don't, I just use, whatever fabric I have, but make sure that it's wet, but it's not like dripping wet. So I wring it out. And then I'll just lay my cotton seeds inside. So I have my black in the bottom, and I'll cover them, put the top on, put it in a windowsill, and in like 3 days, the cotton will appear, and you'll start to see the sprout come out, and then you'll start to see the leaf. And then once the leaf and the sprout have sort of shown themselves, then you can replant them in a larger pot. And that I would do in one of these. And again, I would take my cell, this is not one I'm using, but I would take my tray and I would basically lay out 4 cotton. So I'd have 4 cotton plants in here, 10 total in my tray, and then I would bottom feed, so I'd water the bottom of this. Again, I don't water my soil from the top. And that's how I would do it under grow lights.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, just that tip right there of just watering from underneath.
Water from the bottom.
Yeah, it's been life changing. And then you're like, oh, because that's what happens. Let's get watered
Yeah.
from the bottom. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you, Sunny.
Nice.
Kenya, thank you so much. That was
Thank you. Yeah.
really informative. I love talking to like people who are just in there growing. You all have your own vocabulary. It's fantastic. Can't wait to see later on in the season how things are going. So we'll check in with you again.
Absolutely.
All right. We have a really short outro here. Just a couple of things. Well, as you know, we have seeds. So if you've been interested in seeds, we got them. We have Ricketts indigo, we have Blue Light Junction indigo, and we have Grand Prismatic indigo and Madame Magar Sufruticosa indigo, which is different than the other 3 suppliers. So if you're in an area where you can grow the indigo ferritinctoria or you want to try it, check out Madame Magar as well. Blue Light Junction, which Kenya sent us so many packages, has 3 different farms that we have seeds from, Parks and People, Bliss Meadows, and something Heights. What is it, Kenya? What Heights?
Park Heights.
Park Heights, yeah.
Park Heights, Parks and People, and Bliss Meadow.
Yeah, and so you could buy one of each, or you could do all sorts of things. It's going to be really fun. Okay, so we also have a couple of workshops, and we're going to be announcing a few more as well. Judy Petit, her online ink making workshop still has openings, and Porfirio Gutierrez's In Real Life Ventura, California in April has a couple of openings as well. So if you are interested, please join us in one of those as well. Kim Eichler Messmer, who many of you were really impressed with her Feedback Friday and the beautiful stitched resist indigo that she was doing with machine stitching. She's going to be repeating that workshop in May. So don't miss any of those. Amy and I are working to get our summer filled with incredible artists and events. So we'll have that announced soon as well. Next week on Feedback Friday, it's going to be question and answer. And so I'll be your host. Amy will be the referee. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about natural dyes and natural dyeing. And if you have a question, send it to Amy. Amy, can you put your email in the chat? And we will take those questions. So it'll be pretty relaxed like today and really informative. And we hope you can join us.
That's how we started. That's how we started this feedback.
How we
Friday.
started, I'd be sitting here going, what? You're doing what? Oh, right. Okay. Well, next time, turn on the heat. You need to get the dye pot a little bit warmer. Those kinds of answers is what I would be doing. All right. Amy, anything
Yeah,
else?
I just like that you guys are trying to make up names for Thursdays, Thrilling Thursdays.
Thrilling Thursdays.
Thrilling Thursdays.
I still like Crime
Feedback-
Stoppers
Feedback
edition.
Thursday.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
even
I've got
say
nothing.
that.
The only thing that I didn't ask Kenya, and it's really a question for you, Kathy. There's a couple people in Canada who are asking, why can't we send seeds there? Maybe you just want to throw in something.
You
like-
know,
yeah.
so I can send seeds to Canada, but I didn't want to say, oh, we can't send internationally except maybe to Canada. I mean, if you're in Canada and you want to order seeds, order the seeds. They do go through. Where we really got slapped hard was Australia, New Zealand, and kind of the rest of the world. So, you know, North America seems to be fine, but no Australia and no New Zealand. Oftentimes, oh, and no Israel. I'm sorry, no Israel. Oftentimes Europe is okay. But again, I didn't want to try to like give you some sort of grid, like, oh, if you live in, you know, Belgium, it's okay. But if you live in Israel, it's not okay. I think it would start be making people crazy. So anything
Oh my
else, Amy?
No, I'm just laughing at the chat and the names. People are still Tinctoria
Faux Friday.
Thursdays. There was somebody else.
I
Oh,
like that. I like
Faux Friday.
Yeah.
Faux Friday. You guys are good.
Very good.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna have to run.
As do I.
'Cause I left my charger at home and now I have to go get it.
Well,
'cause
let's let
I'm-
people
I'm
unmute
on
and
gas.
say.
Oh yeah, everyone say hello, hello,
Yeah.
bye.
Thank
was
you.
great.
Thank you.
Was
This was
great.
great.
Thanks,
Wonderful.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.